Good morning. I'm just catching my breath from that very long processional. I hope you enjoyed it and were able to see the signs. We thank our sign holders, Ari and Joseph, and we ask you in your travels around town to please thank all the groups who let us alter their signboards for this occasion. Actually, none did. Photoshopping is such a cool thing. So we always start our program, our debate, with anthems, like a hockey game. Semi-serious, but sometimes more real, such as when we played La Marseillaise after the terror attack in France a few years back. We always do the anthems for the United States and for Israel, both dear to us and facing many challenges, but maybe we're turning the corner. And once again, we want to switch our usual Canada with Great Britain, of course, because we've been watching The Crown, which is proof positive that royalty and dysfunction fit very well together. And you'll notice the barrister wig from the House of Commons, and that anthem will be in the middle. Usually Jerry Danoff is playing the anthem and we're all singing. That's not going to happen today with nobody in the room, but where you are at home, sing as loud as you wish. So we start with the Star Spangled Banner.
יהודי
Hello again. Compared to the news of the world and the tragedies that we see day after day, sometimes I think that events like the Latke-Hamantasch debate seem trivial, even inappropriate. But if we stop having a little fun, then terror and tyranny and lies undermine our way of life and democratic values, and the bad people win. And this time there's the virus. Who would have guessed what that has brought to the world since we last did this debate? But I say, let's give ourselves the gift of laughter and appreciation for the gift of life and creativity that makes a day and an event like this possible. So now to the tachlis. I want to welcome you to the 13th annual Latke-Hamantasch debate. Numbers are important in Judaism, and we always pause when I make that announcement to focus on that. Last year, we talked about the number 12, and you all wisely produced many examples of 12 in our tradition, the 12 tribes, 12 months of the year, 12 days of Christmas, the 12 standing stones of Deuteronomy as the people crossed into the land, the 12 apostles, the ephod stones that the high priest wore, the age of maturity for young women. 13 seemed to be a little more daunting, so I'm going to give you about 25 seconds to think of examples of 13 in our tradition. Sure, Rabbi Werbin knows them all, but I'll give you my one. The first one comes from the Passover Haggadah. Shlosha Asar Midayah, the 13 attributes of God. And then there is the age of bar mitzvah. There's the baker's dozen. There's the floor left off of elevators in large buildings. And today is the 13th day of December. It's Bashert. If you have more 13s, please email them to me. Anyway, the background of this debate, some of you who've been here before know that it was pioneered at the University of Chicago 7 decades ago, with scholars and scientists and historians, great legal minds debating the merits of the greasy potato pancake versus the heavy prune-filled triangular pastry called a Hamantaschen. That debate has spread to other campuses and to communities around the country. One of my dreams was to begin this tradition here at the same time as we brought new life to Purim, to bring these 2 minor holidays to a new reality, making sure the fun of being Jewish is not a secret. And that is why we include the trappings, the anthems, the processional, the academic attire, etc. So the debate does not just happen. We have many helpers this year because the way we're doing this, Pam Kocher has been critical to us every step of the way, from her work in the administrative office and her technological skills. She's assisted today by at least 2 of our young people, Sam Powers and Ryan Culp, operating the machinery, and Melissa Helsfeld helped put together many of our videos as she did on the high holidays. I also want to thank the Danoff family, Pat and Jerry, for supporting this event over the years, and recognize that behind the wings, Ruth Chernia is very much a part of what we're doing. Some of you know that Ruth wrote the story of the debates at the University of Chicago. Here is the volume that attests to that, available in softback and hardback. Ruth and I worked together for many years in Hillel International, the International Center, during the tenure of Richard Joel, the greatest leader I ever worked with, and maybe he's listening in today and will thank me. Sadly, Ruth succumbed to cancer in 2009. Her family, including Michael and Andre, Lauren, the kids, are usually with us for this debate and hopefully are today as well. We think of her every year at this time and hope that what we do is clever and fun, as was she. We came up with great choices for this debate and the previous 12, and I know many of the contestants. That would be 4 times 12, 48 contestants we've had so far, all members of our congregation. We have such clever people. But it's not easy to get volunteers, and if the volunteers say yes, as they often do, they say, well, it's not the right year, or there's this, or we'll be away. But eventually, I talk them into it. Gender equality, always my goal. We're always open to more volunteers. Email me later on. And in order of presentation today, the contestants are Dafna Silberfeld for the Latke, Jana Singer for the Hamantasch, Fabián Werbin for the Latke, and David Bachrach for the Hamantasch. And I'll give you their brief bios before each one speaks. As you know, 2 will argue for the Latke and 2 for the Hamantasch. We'll alternate between the delicacies. The order was determined earlier, no coin toss. It created too many disputes, but we used a special algorithm downloaded from Waze in order to put the order together today. Each contestant has 10 minutes to make their best case. Each may argue against the other holiday delicacy and for their own. Generally, I urge them, of course these are private conversations, to take the high road and focus on the merits of their delicacy, but there is ample precedent for taking a few shots at the opposition in the process, and we may hear that today. There are no follow-up questions, no debate actually. I am the moderator, as I've been for the first 12. Happy to be here, and I get to make the rules. Usually we take a little straw poll at the end and determine the winner of the debate, and then we test the actual products being debated. So I get to make only this vote today, and as always, I disregard the voting anyway. Anyway, I hope that the extra creativity and the shtick, we would call it, will help compensate a little bit for the lack of a live audience. The normal times audience, close to 200 people squeezed into the chapel, gave the debate its energy, and the laughs provided immediate rewards for the clever. We won't have that today. It's not a tragedy. We won't have it, though. I thought of using those soundtracks that they play at games now, but this is not a game. This is very serious. Only kidding. This is Narishkeit, a wonderful Yiddish word meaning meaninglessness. Narishkeit raised to its highest level, and I hope you will enjoy it. Now, before our first contestant speaks, we have 2 special guest cameos this morning who may, in their own way, sway the voting. The first is just a photo. The second will be a video. So now I think we will look at the photo. There it is. Pictured there is Josie, the granddaughter, who especially posed for this occasion, and the fact that she's endorsing the Hamantaschen should not be taken as a statement of the Rudolph family, just coincidental. So I think we're ready now to start, and I want to introduce our first contestant, Dafna Silberfeld, speaking for the Latke. Dafna is currently the branch chief for the Learning and Talent Development branch at the NRC, Nuclear Regulatory Commission. She has over 25 years of experience in human resources in both the public and private sectors. She's so young, I think she must have started her career right after her bat mitzvah. Prior to joining the NRC, she worked in the Office of the Secretary of the Department of Commerce, where she served as a policy advisor throughout the 12 Department of Commerce bureaus. Before beginning her federal service, Ms. Silberfeld served as a human resources consultant for the British Embassy, Director of Career Services at Catherine Gibbs School in New York, and Director of Human Resources at Earn Fair LLC, to name a few. She holds master's degrees in public administration and social work from Columbia, and an undergraduate degree in psychology from NYU. She currently lives in Kensington, Maryland, with her husband, 2 daughters, and son. Dafna?
Is the stress of the pandemic wearing you down? Are you feeling pressure from your Hamantaschen eating friends? The choice you make today could not be more important. Hamantaschen, eaten during the Jewish holiday of Purim, represents the ears or the 3-cornered hat of Haman, the villain of the Purim story, a cookie made in honor of a villain that signifies hatred and violence. Do you need that kind of negativity in your life? Or how about the fact that on Purim, the Jews dress up in costume and get into a state of complete inebriation? Or that children shove Hamantaschen into their mouths in an uncouth manner as they run down the halls after Megillah reading? Is this the holiday and food you want to be associated with? Not to mention the fact that if you depend on Hamantaschen for your sustenance during a pandemic, how's that flour you bought at the market? Oh right, there wasn't any. Or the fact that the ingredients are not available to all, or that it needs to be made in an oven, a high-priced cooking tool. It is only a food for the elite. And let's be practical. How many people outside of the Jewish religion have ever really even heard of Purim or can pronounce Hamantaschen? There's no seat at the table with Hamantaschen. Have you ever seen this on a menu at a Michelin star restaurant? It's not even a food Jews can eat all year round. You can't eat Hamantaschen on Passover. Haven't Jews been excluded enough from things? Now we punish ourselves? Latkes. We eat latkes during the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah to commemorate the holiday miracle where 1 day worth of oil kept the temple menorah lit for 8 days. The latke is made in honor of the triumph of the Maccabees and a miracle, the strength and perseverance of a small but mighty people. Hanukkah is recognized all over the world with symbols of the Hanukkah seen in front of presidential buildings, town squares, and local parks. Hanukkah is a time for family celebration, togetherness, and gifts. Wouldn't you want to eat a food that's associated with this holiday? With latkes, you do have a seat at the table, as famous cooks and restaurants around the world have copied the latke recipe and made it their own. You can eat latkes year-round, including Passover, and in a time of a pandemic when ingredients are hard to find, you can count on finding the simple ingredients that a latke is made with: potatoes and eggs. You do not need fancy cooking equipment. A frying pan is all you need. The latke is the food of the people. Take comfort knowing that it's hard to ruin a latke, as you can always dip it in a sauce or put on a topping such as sour cream or applesauce. Take comfort in knowing you can't get any latke ingredients stuck in your teeth and embarrass yourself. Take comfort in knowing that when you eat latkes, you will make memories with your family. During this holiday season, take comfort and de-stress with latkes. Friends, this time has been stressful and dark for many of us. What better time to celebrate a holiday that focuses on the light, a source of rejuvenation? This is the time to focus on yourself and eat the latkes that please you. Indulge in those delicious potato pancakes and dip them in whatever sauce or use whatever topping brings you joy. You do not need to feel all the negative feelings that come along with the stress of this time. When we are stressed, stress hormones rise and our judgment and impulse control deteriorate, while brain areas for anger and anxiety are activated. Do we really need more stress and anxiety right now? Our virtual school time away from loved ones, a longing for a return to our normal lives not stressful enough? This is the time for us to take control and determine how we react to the stress around us. We need to be ready for it, prepare for it, cook for it. Cook your potato latkes. The more decisions we have to make, the more tired our brain gets. Let's make it easy for ourselves. Let's plan our week's meals with latkes. Now, some of you might be asking, why latkes? How will that help me reduce my stress? Wouldn't a sweet Hamantaschen give me that same source of happiness? My friends, the answer is no. Sugar cravings will feed your crazy and your stress. Specifically, eating too much sugar may increase your risk for mood disorders, including depression. You are going to find yourself on a blood sugar roller coaster. And when you get on that ride, what are the consequences? You may find yourself losing sleep, as insomnia is a symptom of unmanaged blood sugar. You may lose focus, as sugar creates inflammation in your brain, too. Now, I know that for many of us, it's second nature to turn to sugary sweets when we are feeling stressed or anxious. But we need to remember that sugary food can weaken the body's ability to respond to stress and lead to weight gain by compelling you to eat more calories throughout the day. You digest refined grains rapidly, causing a spike in blood sugar followed by a crash. With blood sugar depleted, your body craves more, leading to a vicious cycle of weight gain. So how can latke help with our stress? Well, friends, let's talk about potatoes. Potatoes contain vitamins, minerals, protein, carbohydrates, and essential fats. In fact, our brains make serotonin every time you eat a potato. Serotonin is the key hormone that stabilizes our mood, feelings of well-being, and happiness. This hormone impacts your entire body. It enables brain cells and other nervous system cells to communicate with each other. It helps with sleeping, eating, and digestion. But that's not all. The B6 vitamins in potatoes are critical to maintaining neurological health. According to the University of Maryland Medical Center, vitamin B6 also helps create other useful brain chemicals known as dopamine and norepinephrine. For those of us that need a refresher, dopamine is a type of neurotransmitter, and your nervous system uses it to send messages between nerve cells. It's a hormone that's associated with happiness. Norepinephrine, also a type of neurotransmitter, helps mobilize the brain for action and can improve energy and attentiveness. Did I mention that potatoes are an excellent source of vitamin C and potassium? A potato has even more potassium than a banana. That's right, but wait, there's more. The high amounts of copper and iron found in potatoes are also known for boosting brain activity. So I bring you back to the topic of stress. The food we eat can have long-term implications on our health and stress levels. And as I just pointed out, general health can be influenced greatly by adding potatoes into your diet. Less sugar means less inflammation in your brain and more mental clarity. We all want mental clarity, less strength, and more joy in our lives. This is the time where we all need to come together and enjoy latkes as a community and let the light of Hanukkah fill our hearts and homes. So as I stated in my message, live, laugh, and de-stress with latkes. Thank you.
I am a latke. for the onions and the flour, and the cooks are scouting oil in town. I sit here wondering what will come of me. I can't be looking as I do. I need someone to take me out and cook me, or I'll really end up in a royal stew. I am a Latka, I'm a Latka, and I am waiting for Hanukkah to come. I am a Latka, I'm a Latka, and I am waiting for Hanukkah to come.
Thank you, Dafna. And we enjoyed seeing Debbie Friedman, Aleha Shalom, lead us in I Am a Latka. Now to defend the Hamantasch, we are calling upon Jana Singer. Jana is Professor Emeritus at the University of Maryland School of Law, where she has taught courses on family law, contracts, and constitutional law. At Bethel, she co-chairs the Sisterhood Social Action Committee. When the weather is warmer, you can find her on the golf course with her husband, Larry Sidman, well known to us here as well, or frolicking with one of her 4 adorable grandchildren. Some of them not old enough to frolic yet, all of whom, it says here, much prefer Hamantaschen to Latkes. Jana?
Thank you, Rabbi. As Rabbi Rudolph said, I am an emeritus law professor, and I am also a feminist. And no, those two things are not mutually exclusive. Given the ubiquity of lawyers in our congregation, I trust that in previous years, you've heard many legal arguments for and against both delicacies. So I thought I would focus today on the feminist perspective and explain to you why the Hamantasch is clearly superior to the Latke from a feminist standpoint. First, let's compare origin stories. The Hamantasch, of course, is associated with Purim, an important Jewish holiday that features not one, but 2 strong women. There is Esther, of course, who finds her voice and uses it to save the Jewish people from an evil male villain. And then there is Vashti, foremother of the Me Too movement, who defies her misogynist husband and refuses to dance naked for the amusement of his inebriated friends. You go, girl. And where are the women in the Latkes' Hanukkah story? Certainly not marching with Judah Maccabee, or even finding the oil in the temple. Probably at home peeling potatoes. Definitely not a feminist narrative. But wait, as I was conducting research for this talk, I discovered that there is a female heroine associated with Hanukkah, although, of course, her story has been largely lost. The book of Judith tells of a time, thought by many to be during the revolt of the Maccabees, when the town of Bethulia in the land of Judah came under siege by Holofernes, a cruel Assyrian general at the head of a huge army. After fighting valiantly, the men of the beleaguered town agreed to surrender. But a young Jewish widow objected and hatched a plan. Accompanied only by her maid, Judith set out for the enemy camp. The Assyrian general was immediately struck by her beauty and charm. Smitten, he invited her to a banquet where she plied him with food and drink until he fell into a drunken stupor. Judith then took Holofernes' sword and decapitated him. With the Assyrian army thrown into disarray, Judith urged the Israelites to launch a surprise attack. They did and emerged victorious. Once again, the weak defeated the strong, the few defeated the many, and a young woman secured a victory for Israel that others had not dared to imagine. Perhaps it's time to rewrite the Hanukkah story. Until then, score 1 for the Hamantasch on origin story. Let's turn now to the appearance of the two delicacies. The Hamantasch takes the form of an equilateral triangle, which is a universal symbol of balance and harmony, not to mention equality. Its sides are straight and smooth, not jagged or bumpy. And while latke lovers may argue that their circular shape also has feminist credentials, anyone who has ever made latkes knows that they rarely come out looking like circles, more like blobs with jagged edges and shreds of potatoes sticking out. Moreover, if you place one Hamantasch on top of another, you get the Star of David, a central symbol of modern Jewish identity, icon of the Israeli flag, and the symbol of Magen David Adom, Israel's version of the Red Cross, an organization dedicated to saving lives and helping people recover from natural disasters. If you put one latke over another, you get, well, not much of anything. The Hamantasch is also complex and three-dimensional. Its rich cookie shell and sweet, soft filling complement each other, but each is allowed to retain its distinct identity within the greater whole. Unlike the latke, the Hamantasch embraces pluralism, unity through diversity. No single ingredient overwhelms the others or tries to potato-splain the contributions of its colleagues. Nor does the Hamantasch require its components to be melted down or force them to abandon their individuality in the service of a potato-centric whole. Next, consider the way the two delicacies are prepared. Making Hamantaschen is a deliberate, multi-step process that requires care and planning. You can't just throw your ingredients into a bowl and toss them into a frying pan. Nor does making Hamantaschen jeopardize the future of our planet by using vast amounts of oil and thereby continuing our unhealthy dependence on fossil fuel. The Hamantasch bakes slowly and without fanfare, emerging from the oven fragrant and fully formed. The latke, by contrast, feels compelled to let everyone know that it is coming, crackling and sputtering long before it is ready to serve, and then leaving behind splatters of grease and a messy kitchen for guess who to clean up. The Hamantasch is also durable. It is sturdy and shelf-stable, It does not shrivel, nor does it go from hot to lukewarm, or from crisp to soggy within the course of a single encounter. Unlike the latke, the Hamantasch retains its vigor and robustness and can be enjoyed with family and friends for many days. Finally, consider how the two foods are consumed. The Hamantasch stands on its own. It does not need to be dressed up with anything else, such as applesauce or sour cream, to make it complete. The Hamantasch is also versatile. It can be consumed sitting at the table or standing and chatting with friends at a party. You know, those get-togethers we used to have before COVID-19? Eating a Hamantasch requires no utensils, but can be done neatly and efficiently using nothing but one's hands and leaving no oily residue behind. Consuming a latke is much more complicated, and eating it while standing is fraught with danger. Even if you manage to avoid dropping big chunks of potato on your host's new carpet, you are likely to end up with greasy fingers and a sour cream mustache. Once again, the Hamantasch proves superior. Having explained why the Hamantasch is clearly superior to the latke from a feminist perspective, I will end by invoking the quintessential feminist tactic of questioning the hypothetical, thinking outside the frying pan, if you will. Why does it have to be either the latke or the Hamantasch? Why can't it be both and? A true collaboration. As for me, I will take my latkes for a main course and my Hamantaschen for dessert. Now that is a true feminist solution.
Oh, once there was a wicked, wicked man, and Haman was his name, sir. He would have sent out all the Jews, but they were not to blame, sir. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be, and nosh some Hamantasch. And Esther was the lovely queen of King Ahasuerus. Beth, when Haman said he'd send us out, oh my, how he did scare us. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be, and nosh some Hamantasch. But Mordecai, her cousin bold, said, what a dreadful chutzpah. If I controlled the INS, this Haman I'd deport, sir. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be, and nosh some Hamantasch.
Will not be unnoticed, I'm sure, by the contestants. So now our third contestant, no stranger, Rabbi Fabián Werbin, born and raised, as you probably know, not in this country, but in Argentina. He received his 2 undergraduate degrees in Bible and Jewish thought from Haifa University. He received rabbinic ordination 2003 from the Seminario Rabbinico Latinoamericano. Not bad. In Buenos Aires, Argentina. While pursuing his studies, he led a 350 family congregation in Paraná. For 3 years, and after ordination, he was the rabbi of a 130 family congregation in Colombia. I won't try to pronounce that town. Then served for 7 years as rabbi of Beth Israel Synagogue in Roanoke, Virginia, before coming to Bethel. Rabbi Werbin is married to Patricia Gradel, a psychologist with a master's degree in Jewish education, teacher at our day school. They are devoted parents to their 4 children, Ari, banner carrier, Catalina, Naomi, and David. In his limited spare time, Rabbi Werbin enjoys reading, soccer, and a good joke. So it's no secret that Rabbi Werbin will be leaving us soon. For me, professionally and personally, it's a big loss. Rabbi Werbin.
Thank you very much for the invitation to support my favorite dish. No, not barbecue, asado in Spanish, no, not pizza, not even potato knish. My favorite dish, latke. First, I know I am limited to 10 minutes, but I am also used to speak from the bima. So whoever says 10 minutes to a rabbi, expect at least 25 boring minutes of a message that could be summarized in just 4 words. Fulfill mitzvot, Shabbat Shalom. In any case, we all know that there is no such a thing as debate here. Every logic, tasteful, rational, and with enough common sense will choose Latke over the other thing. For many years, Rabbi Rudolph tempted me with the responsibility of participating. There is so much talent at Bethel that I gently declined several times. This time, as a good lame duck, I had no option other than saying yes. So today, dear friends, I will have to make the case for the Latkes, and hineni, here I am. So I will speak from a rabbinical perspective from 2 of the areas I like the most in the rabbinical field. No soccer and diets, that's not what I'm thinking. I am talking about interfaith and the origin of the words. So there's no doubt there is a huge connection between the ecumenical aspect of religion and Latkes. Interfaith and Latkes are fried together. Interfaith and Latkes are intertwined. So let me share with you a couple of examples so you can have a taste of it, pun intended. We, the Jews, are called the people of the book. The name, people of the book, surprisingly was given to us by Muhammad, the prophet of the Islam. What is not well known is that we, the Jewish people, gave the name to those who practice the Islamic faith as well. The Talmud in the tractate of Fry Fudim, I 8:2, tell us the story of the famous Rabbi Eprazol. Rabbi Eprazol, who was eating non-stop latkes in a city in the middle of some famous mountains, the Appalachians, when an Arab approached him. When the Arab saw Rabbi Eprazol eating so many latkes, the Talmud tells that this Arab said, you slim. Rabbi Eprazol wrote that phrase down and see what happened. Muslim, that is the name. We named the Muslim to those Arabs, and the Muslims ate latkes since then. And here you have a proof. Here is my friend IMAM RASOUL talking to you.
Salam, Shalom. I am Imam Rasul Naqavi, the director of Mufid Academic Seminary, and like all of you, I also love making latke for me and my family. Enjoy it.
And to show you more, this is what he sent me after he recorded the video. So see this dialogue. That's a good friendship. So back to our story. The Talmud continues and tells us that on the other side of the street, where Rabbi RASOUL was, there was an idolater eating some triangular things. The Arab approached the idolater. When Rabbi RASOUL saw that, he tried to save his Muslim friend from committing idolatry. His Muslim friend was about to fall into temptation. After eating that crispy latkes, he was about to eat the idolater food when the rabbi asked the idolater, "Are those triangles crispy or hard?" The idolater lied, of course, and told him and said that they were crispy. Of course, the rabbi did not believe in idolatry. His Muslim friend was still doubtful and asked, "Can we touch them?" The idolater answered, "Oh man, touch him. Oh man, touch him." When the Arab touched that hard and dry triangle, immediately rejected, "This is not crispy," and decided to call the food with the words of the idolater, "Oh man, Taschen. Oh man, Taschen." See it for yourself. The interfaith journey continues. We Jews spread the love for Latkes around the whole world in every geography, and I promise we will get there later. The Christian world was also influenced by the Latkes. The higher authority of Catholicism is called the Pope, or in Spanish, el Papa. Papa in Spanish means potato. And here we see the Pope giving to the parishioners el latke. See it for yourself. In fact, the most recent survey of the Pew Research says that the sin most Catholic people confess is having incurred in idolatry and eating filled triangles. Here is another testimony.
I like to be cutting edge, but I'm also a traditionalist, and nothing says tradition like the Latke. A little background. Both my parents come from Queens, but my mother in particular came from one of those neighborhoods where you were either Italian or Jewish. And since she was Italian, I think she wanted to avoid her own people. So most of her friends growing up, her girlfriends, were of the chosen people. And because of that, I think I have, and I'm a bit of an expert on modern Jewish cultural concerns. And so, albeit an expert from the outside, but sometimes you need to step back a little to see the big picture. And the big picture is this: that latkes are the definitive offering of the kosher kitchen to modern civilization. I mean, I don't think that's in doubt. Finally, let me just say this. Maybe you've heard of the multiplication of the loaves. Now you might ask, what did those loaves consist of? Well, that's not entirely clear, but think of this. Loaves, latkes, both start with L, both have 5 letters. A coincidence? I don't think so. The answer is clear. It's good to be with you and weigh in on this weighty modern controversy. Mazel tov.
My Interflix experience taught me about the origin of another faith, based in this case on a Jewish midrash. A Jewish boy called Joseph Smith was hungry, and he saw his own mother cooking latkes. His mother used to put applesauce on top of the latke, but little Joseph wanted to try new things. While he was eating, his hunger did not disappear, and he started to ask for more latkes to his mom. More, mom. More, mom. He suddenly stopped adding applesauce and decided to add salt to the latkes. At that moment, he had a revelation. Latkes with salt. More, Mom, more, Mom. He decided to move to Salt Lake City, and based on that story, he's the father of the Mormon or Mormon faith. All started with a Latke. That story that I just shared with you can be found in the Tractate of Mormonim. Hey, Mom, you too ate Latke. I mentioned earlier something about geography. Since the moment the first Jews arrived to the US, the expansion of the Latke tradition conquered this beautiful country, covering all the territory from the west to the east, from Los Angeles, LA, to Kensington. See it in this picture, LA to Kensington. Another incredible story of our Talmud is about the rabbi who was an expert in foods and drinks. You may recall his name, very famous rabbi, Rav Yoli Bartender. Rav Yoli Bartender. He created a contest to find the perfect food. Cooks from all over the world came. One contester came from Orange, California. She prepared, of course, a California roll. Another contestant came from Ireland. He traveled a lot to get into this contest, so his chances to win were doubling. He came from Ireland. He prepared an Irish breakfast, of course. A third one came from Coconut Creek, Florida. This contestant prepared an habanero pepper because Florida is also known as Northern Cuba. The last contestant, named Jeff, came from Israel, the Israeli city of Modi'in. Remember, his name was Jeff. He cooked latkes, and immediately Ravioli bartender declared him a winner. In fact, Jeff was given the title of Master. Since then, the cooking contests on TV are called Master Jeff. Needless to say, the triangle didn't make it to the finals at all. Well, enough with stories. Let me finish with the most important text of our tradition for this year. It is found in Genesis 20:20. And this is the text. You shall wear a mask. You shall keep social distancing. You shall get vaccinated, said the Lord of the Latkes. Hag Sameach.
Thank Rabbi Werbin. Went a little bit over time, but it was worth it. Anyway, and we thank Adam Sandler. That was, he did 3 of those, I believe. That was number 3, and they are a lot of fun. So we're now ready for our 4th and final contestant, David Bachrach. David, born in Champaign, Illinois. Family moved to California and then to Maryland in 1977. Once out of school, David was determined to become the world's funniest police officer, but later learned that he was not funny, nor, as it turns out, was he a police officer. Other than that, his life has turned out exactly as planned. Today, he is a human resources advisor to federal agencies like the Labor Department and the Smithsonian. David served on Bethel's HR committee for a long while. He evaluated me many times. It wasn't a pretty picture, but we survived. And he chaired the search committee that found and hired Henry Feller as our new executive director. At age 12, David experienced trauma when a greasy latke fell on his foot, and he contracted an incurable case of tuberculosis. David.
Thank you. Hello, please sit down. Distinguished guests, hosts, Jana, Dafna, Rabbi Werbin. It's a Pleasure to be here. If you remember only 3 words from today, they are my hat, it. If you remember only 11 words from today, they also include has 3 corners, 3 corners has my hat. These lyrics, originally penned by the late composer Alfred Grunfeld in 1854, when he was just 2 years old, tell you everything you need to know about Hamantaschen. They are so beloved that people compose songs about them. You cannot name a single song about Latkes because none have been written. None have been written because Latkes are not inspiring. Latkes are quaint. They're little lumps of shredded sadness bubbling away in the oil that every year represents the tears of the Maccabees, who were, by all accounts, a very oily people. It's no coincidence that Hanukkah occurs in the depths of winter, when everyone is getting fatter and pledging in vain to get to the gym in a month that occurs much later and usually in a different calendar year. Why are they going to the gym? To get past all the latkes they regret consuming. Now, not to bother you with smart words that are probably above you, but the Yiddish word latka comes from the East Slavic oladka, a diminutive of oladya, which means lump without any shape whatsoever. Fun fact, it's from the same root as the word Asa. It was used in Prussia to refer behind his back to the venerable but dweeby village warbler, a practice we keep alive today at Bethel here. How many times have we greeted each other on Saturday morning with the traditional, Asa is a latka, Shabbat Shalom. It pairs the traditional Sabbath greeting with a clever insult. It's the Hillel sandwich of greetings, as it pairs the painful with the joyful. And because, like the Chazan, it only takes away from the beauty of the world in this season, the latke is also considered the far inferior symbol of Jewish observance. As Rashi has been quoted as saying, in our community, the latke is considered as a doorstop or an emergency golf ball during the back 9, but never as food. I am certainly not one to oppose Rashi. Back to the singing thing. Songs have long been an esteemed medium to elevate events, topics of interest, and people of great merit. The big 1988 Michael Jackson hit, Man in the Mirror, was written about one of the most important people of my lifetime. When I investigated in my mirror, this turned out to be me. In a way, I guess I also have gone triple platinum and spent 2 weeks at #1 on the Bethel charts, so to speak. And that is because, and listen closely, I have been devoted to Hamantaschen for over 40 years. And oh, the songs that have been written about Hamantaschen. If only I had more than the remaining 8 minutes and 18 seconds to list them all, but only to name a few. My Hat It Has 3 Corners, and its follow-up hit, No, I'm pretty sure it's 3, but I will check and get back to you. Hamantaschen, 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 the untold Lorena Bobbitt story. Oh, Prune Ella, please make me more of those. And who can forget the old standby, Grandma forgot the apricot filling. I guess it's all poppy seed again this year. Perhaps you're not a fan of the arts. Let's talk about the experience of eating Hamantaschen. Hamantaschen across the globe are comprised of 2 delightful ingredients, filling and dough. Each on its own is perfection, but combined, oh, the combination is sublime. Let's talk about the roots of these 2 components. Filling. Filling is defined as a piece of material used to fill a cavity in a tooth, which does not seem to fit the situation at first. But let me remind you that dentists are people too, and they absolutely love Hamantaschen. And it is no coincidence that those fillings are often made of gold. Make the connection, people. Filling is valuable, and it's linked to dentistry, and any Jewish parent would love for their child to become a dentist. When was the last time someone seriously said, gosh, I'd like my child to grow up to be a potato? Hamantaschen filling is valuable. Dough. Dough is defined as a thick paste that can be used to make a wide variety of delicious things like pizza, biscuits, noodles, and cakes. Everyone loves these creations. Compare this with the potato, defined as a starchy tuber of the plant Solanum tuberosum. Wow! Can you imagine inviting someone over on a cold December evening for some starchy tubers? Of course you can't, because you wouldn't do that. If you haven't heard, there's a global pandemic and you can't invite people over for any reason. But if you did, it better be for Hamantaschen and not for starchy tubers. Incidentally, if you want to start a banjo quintet and name it the Starchy Tubers, I bet you'd be able to gain quite a following. Just don't play songs about latkes, because they are terrible. So, Hamantaschen are delicious, and they inspire songs, but maybe you're not yet persuaded. So let me see if you're moved by the following joke. Why didn't Esther receive Mordecai's email warning her about Haman's plot to kill the Jews? Because she had the Achash virus on her computer. Pause for long silence. All right. Maybe extremely clever jokes are not to your liking. Let me try one that is less clever to try to persuade you. A woman on a train walked up to a man across the table. "Excuse me," she said, "but are you Jewish?" "No," replied the man. A few minutes later, the woman returned. "Excuse me," she said again, "but are you sure you're not Jewish?" "I'm sure," said the man. But the woman was not convinced, and a few minutes later, she approached him a third time. "Are you absolutely sure you're not Jewish?" All right, the man says. "You win, I'm Jewish." "That's funny," said the woman. "You don't look Jewish." Now, did you notice what was not in that joke? Latkes. That's because latkes are not funny. They are not delicious, they are not funny, and no one writes songs about them. If you are still, as yet, unconvinced of the superiority of Hamantaschen, in closing, I want to share a true story from the Bethel community. Dr. Craig Futterman, a close personal friend of mine, was once sharing a meal with my family around Hanukkah time. When offered a latke, he said, "I can't eat those." When I asked him why, he said, "You probably are going to use my answer to support your stupid position in the Latke-Hamantaschen debate in a few years, and I will not let you draw me into this foolish endeavor." But then he said something so profound that I have never forgotten it. He said, "David, if you only remember 11 words from tonight, they are, I really don't like you, and please pass the green beans." Truer words have never been spoken. Wishing you all a happy and healthy Hanukkah filled with light, games of dreidel, and naturally all kinds of delicious Hamantaschen.
Stand for a tale so grand. Shushan is the place where it all began. The hidden miracle. One man, second in command. Slay all the Jews, but his wicked plan. A scheme so miserable. He chose a day for the disaster. It's ironic what came after. He didn't know a girl come on and raise your glass. Esther became the queen, cause God was pulling strings from behind the scenes. She wore the royal crown. 3 days the Jews just prayed. Queen Esther risked her life, went to save the day. She took Haman down. The streets were filled with celebration. Everyone ate Hamantaschen. Jubilation for the nation. So raise your glass if you can see the hidden meaning. It's right in front of you. We will never be anything but proud to tell the story. Then now for who? Won't you come on and raise your glass? Just come on and raise your glass. Won't you come on and raise your glass? Just come on and raise your glass.
Okay, so we've reached the end, sorry to say. Rabbi Werbin now announced another number 13, the 13 children of Jacob, our patriarch, including Dinah, an important figure in feminism. So Rabbi Werbin is always looking to help the other side in any of these matters. At any rate, it's very hard to have a winner declared, since there's nobody here to vote except for Gail, who will remain neutral. So we'll declare it a tie. And if you're interested in being a contestant in future years, please contact me as soon as possible while the Spirit moves you. I want to mention that this afternoon, among the many Hanukkah events going on in the world, Sisterhood is having their annual membership dinner. No? Yes. And they have a great program prepared on the streaming and the Zooming, yes? Zoom program. Gail's been involved in, so it's not too late to sign up for that. Go onto the Beth website and you can see the link to do so. So I want to thank Fabián, Dafna, Jana, and David for their terrific presentations, and thank you all for being a good audience. Now, because we're not able to have people in here to eat the delicacies, the rabbi gets to do it himself. So first we start with this lovely latke. And we brought some special applesauce. I guess we need to remove the mask momentarily. Delicious. And then we have, courtesy of Breads Unlimited, which has a fine selection of Hamantaschen. This lovely prune Hamantaschen, endorsed by our friends up at the Maplewood Retirement Home. Crunchy. I'm dry, but I can feel my blood sugar like coming up, and I can feel my cholesterol also rising. Anyway, I think that does it. We thank you all for being part of this event. Look forward to seeing you again next year, and happy Hanukkah. Chag Urim Sameach. Shalom.